Okay.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Congratulations, everyone.
Made it.
I made it to the end.
You did.
I finished it. It was wonderful. It was amazing. Holy crap. I finished Realm of the Elderlings, and it has been an incredible journey. And
Yay!
Insert Homeward Bound clip here, or memory here, if you've anyone that's my age that's seen that. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so it's pretty much been a year of Hobb since I started Assassin's Apprentice in October 2021. Red Royal Assassin in February.
You've steadily worked your way through.
Yep. Yeah. And then finished.
It's been a journey.
It's been a wonderful journey.
You made it.
Emotionally devastating at many times. So if you're here, if you're gonna pop in at any point, I mean, the title says spoiler, so suck it. You know, if you spoil yourself, it's your own damn fault on the video. So,
well, yeah, it's kind of self-inflicted at this point if you've come here and you haven't read it. So,
yeah. So,
we accept no blame.
Yeah. With that said, I don't know how many discussions you've had with people right after they've finished the series have been like, okay, now it's all done. Let's discuss it as a whole. But yeah,
but everyone's something different. So nobody's journey is the same, and everybody's high points are different, and everybody just is fizzing on something different by the time they get to the end, which is just fantastic. Which I suppose leads me to, what's your fizzing? Now that you've got to the end, it's like, what is the thing that you're going to carry from this when you think of Realm of the Elderlings? This is the whole thing encapsulated. What are you carrying with you?
So not right before this, approximately 2 hours before this, I was actually in a therapy session, and I talked about these books with my therapist. And I've told this to you before, and I told it to my therapist just 2 hours ago. It's the catharsis of the entire journey. And I told this to you before. I think it goes without saying, Derri, pretend like I've never said any of this stuff to you before, like brand new information.
Yeah.
Because I've been sending you voice messages as been going. But anyways, there's just a catharsis throughout reading this series, whether it's the Fitz books or Lives of Traitors or Rainwild Chronicles, whatever. There's just, it feels like therapy in a really kind of a weird way, but it's just the catharsis of everything. And finishing the series, even before I actually finished it, leading up to it, I wanted to know how it was going to end, but I also didn't want it to end because I knew that it's the end. Yes, I can reread it, but it's the end. And I didn't want that to happen. And I, now having finished it, I really want to restart it again. Like, pretty much immediately I was like, well, 24 hours, 48 hours. I was like, I'm going to start Assassin's Apprentice again. And I couldn't read it because it truly, truly does feel like a grieving process that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
Not just for characters.
We flippantly call it a Hobb hangover, but it's real.
Yeah.
You feel very bruised and you're very emotional.
Yeah, like I genuinely have never felt this way about reading any book. It's not a hangover. It's not a book hangover. It's not a series hangover. It genuinely feels like a grieving process. And I've never experienced that in my reading life at all until this point. And it's really weird, but also enjoyable in a way. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just I think not just for the number of books. It's, we've gone through an entire journey of 16 books with Robin Hobb and her world. So that's a lot. And there's a lot that goes on in these books that is incredibly difficult to read. And it just feels like a part of me has gone into those books, and having it over, it just feels like a part of myself has died in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense to me. And I think because I know for myself, obviously I can only ever speak for myself, is I identify so closely with Fitz. And as you say, the catharsis is very real. As he goes through things that reflect things I've gone through, I get to emotionally process those things with Fitz, through Fitz, via Hobb, and I get to cleanse that from myself each time I go through the story. And that catharsis, that release of those emotions it's real and it's profound. And so by the time we've followed this whole story, this 60 years worth of story, and we get to the conclusion that we get to, it is genuinely a grieving process. We are genuinely saying farewell to people who have made room in our hearts. And real or not, our brains and hearts don't know the difference between real people in real life that we love and people on a page that we love. So the emotions are real, and our grief is real. And even I take probably 3 weeks, a month between the end of Assassin's Fate and heading into Assassin's Apprentice. I have to properly say goodbye again before picking it up and redoing my journey. It's not weird. I think it's profound, and I think it's a testament to Robin Hobb that they are genuine emotions, that they are genuinely impacting your emotional state.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is not that anyone is here right now, but, again, this is a spoiler discussion of the entire series. Get out of the way, go, enter at your own risk, whatever. But so the critique that some, aka Andrew and Nico, have of the Fitz in the full trilogy is that it is fan service. I would say, and
unnecessary.
I would say, and some might say that it is basically, I'm saying the same thing but a different word, is that it is a catharsis it feels like a catharsis for Hobb of saying goodbye to these characters, and like a release for her and a release for us. And then by that, by extension, also hello, Sean. But by extension, by the time I got to Assassin's Fate, to the point that Fitz died, when you think that he's died, in the tower thing, the Claris Tower, I feel that was so emotionally impactful, and I didn't expect him to go that way, that finding out that he was alive, and then that journey kind of to wrap everything up, it felt like an extension of a grieving process. Like Robin Hobb was allowing us to say, hey, this is goodbye, and then I'm going to allow you to grieve.
Wrap your head on that.
Yeah, I'm going to allow you to grieve with me in these last, 200, 300 pages. And it just felt like, I felt at that point, that was when I was started to really, really, truly feel that grieving process of like, what is it? refusal or like deny and
Yeah. Denial and bargaining and
yeah, and it's
yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, no pun intended, but that's what it feels like, and that was my experience. So if things had happened in any other way, I think the ending would have felt like fan service. It would have felt
Yes.
too cookie cutter, too clean, too nice. But it was the best way for Fitz to go. And it not only did all the characters get to say goodbye, but we got to say goodbye as well.
We did.
On page.
And yes, yeah, on page is important. I think where we get the pushback from that little corner of the book world that goes, no, these books past Fool's Fate were unnecessary, is the extension of the story that we got with the Rain Wilds and with Fitz and the Fool tied the story from being about just Fitz and the Fool into being about the realm of the Elderlings and how losing the Elderlings and losing the magics, having that removed from the world, was an unnatural thing. That it was it was a decided choice on the behalf of corrupt people at Claris. So reintroducing the Elderlings by way of reintroducing the dragons was merely a rebalancing of the way things were supposed to go without this corrupt influence. So it was never about bringing back an extinct species for me. It was about a killed off species. They didn't evolve out of life. They didn't fall victim to something natural. They were hunted down and
we
killed.
As in
and
humans.
The humans of the world, well, specifically the Brains Trust of Claris, decided that, well, we could make a lot of our lives spectacular if we killed off these people. And they did. So I can see the point of people who go, they're kind of villains. They've brought back this predatory species who are, not going to be good for humanity. This is not a good thing. I get that. I don't agree, because we should not have flourished to the degree, and I say we as humanity, should not have flourished like they did while the dragons were gone, because they were taken out by this corrupt force. So, and by the time you head into fan service and saying hello, goodbye, checking in with everybody, that also felt earned, because all of these things were made possible by Fitz, by Fool, and all of their choices and all of the things that they did and they caused created this world where you show up in the Rain Wilds and there's a generation of children who need healing because of the influence of dragons who haven't taken responsibility for their growth. We have an entire culture happening in the Pirate Isles that were about to be wiped out, that wouldn't have existed without events that has since happened. So yes, we need to go in and check up on these people. We didn't finish any of their stories with the end. All of those stories were, this is where we leave you for now. So it felt right to me to come back and go, this is clearly what's happened in the interim. The situation's going to change again. And we're not getting closure on any of them. We're left knowing that, our live ship characters, Althea, Brashen, Wintro, all of them have now had their worlds upturned again with the making of dragons. So none of them are left in a stable, happy position. They're all left going, crap, now what do we do? So it never feels like just okay, now we're going to tickle this and everybody gets a happy ever after, because that's not how we ended. We ended in grief, and we ended in heartache, and we ended with this incredibly powerful child who's looking after her? Who's controlling her magics? Who's training her? What is, I mean, yes, Catrican is amazing and I love her, but she's in her freaking 70s. You know, she's not a young woman now. I have always felt this is wide open for more story because it doesn't end here. Fitz's story ends here, absolutely. But even then, only as Fitz. You know, as Wolf, as the stone being that all of his component characters have become, that could very easily go on. But Fitz as an individual person, that's what we saw the ending to.
Yeah, and I think I need to stop saying I think. I need to be more assertive and not qualifying.
I believe.
Not qualifying my opinions. But with that said, we're seeing all of the fan service cameos from other series through Fitz's eyes. We never saw them through Fitz's eyes. So we have the context of Kelsingra and the live ships and Althea's kind of disdain, well, not even kind of, her actual disdain and just discomfort with Kenneth's son and Edda.
With Kenneth's son, yeah.
Yeah, we know that, but Fitz doesn't know that. And so while it might be, why are you referencing that again? Like Hobb, Fitz doesn't know that. So Fitz is just observing everything and what he sees and what he's, sorry, dog. He's observing everything and commenting on what he sees, which is what Fitz has been doing since page 1 of Assassin's Apprentice. And it's just because we're seeing live ship traders in Rainworld Chronicles through Fitz's eyes. And
we are. And because it's the Fitz and the Foal, because it's talking about the outcome of all these prophecies and the changes that they have made, that Cleries are resisting, are attempting to remove. These are the things that are relevant to the story because these are the lives that have been impacted by the changes that Fitz and Beloved made. So it's completely valid to me that Fitz sees the impact of his choices, that he sees the impact of his actions. I had a heated, you were there. There was a discussion in caps with Andrew. Harsh words were had. We do still love you, Andrew. You're allowed your opinion.
Even if it's
we
wrong.
Cannot agree with it.
Yeah.
I've read it more, so whatever that means. There's a validity to a lot of Andrew and Nico's points. And I get it. I get what you're saying, but that's not the story. The story is, as I see it, a much bigger thing. And all of these things are important. All of these actions are valid. And Fitz's actions, Fitz's changes to everything have created these lives that he now gets to see as he's having to make some of the biggest decisions that he's going to have to make as Beloved's catalyst. You know, what is he going to do when he gets to Cleries? What is he going to do with the silver that he's managed to get hold of? What is Fitz going to decide? And he's seen the scale of outcome now, and that's important.
But he's still, you have this expansion of the world and the world view of Fitz, but he's still very, like, laser focused of, I need to get my daughter, or I should say, I need to protect my daughter in and
Mhm.
build a connection with her and then protect her in Fool's Assassin. Fool's quest is I
Yeah.
need to avenge my daughter and get vengeance for her loss.
Mhm.
And then once he realizes that she's alive in Assassin's Fate, it's more I need to get my daughter back and make sure she's alive. And
Yeah.
it's
And the
really
wolf in him is like, you don't get to do that without consequence.
well. That's so. I have to admit that Fool's Quest is probably my least favorite book in the entire series, just because I recognize and I know it's a case of I know as the reader that she's still alive, so I'm so frustrated with Fitz that nothing is happening. That he can't and he won't do anything. So that's part of it. But then on the flip side, Fitz has this. Fitz in the Fool trilogy is the embodiment of the antithesis of what, not antithesis, but it really just showcases the growth that Fitz has from Farseer, in that Fitz kind of, he finally learns to be a father, be a parent, be present, and be thankful and grateful for the things that he has with Molly, with B, everyone. And then in Fool's Quest, particularly, and this is where the other side of me is like, I get it, I understand, but I'm still so frustrated. The critique seems to be that why didn't Fitz just go off and do his vengeance thing of like, hey, B's dead, I'm just gonna go fucking nuts on Claris and the White Prophets, or the Whites. But he's finally learned how to not fly off the handle, not go into a full-on like berserk mode. He's finally learned to defer to leadership. Dutiful doesn't want him to go. He's like, no, take a step back, pause, let's think about this. We have to plan this out. And that happens. And if without that kind of pause in a way, B wouldn't have been in the place where she is at the end. At Claris and alive and stuff like that. So,
and I get that. I look at it where Fool's Quest, and I agree with a lot of the critique. It does feel like you're very much spinning your wheels in Fool's Quest. I also know that when things feel that impossible and you've got grief on so many levels happening, you genuinely aren't able to do anything. Like you can think of well, I wish I could do this and I wish I could do that, but I just can't right now. And so I kind of get it that Fitz is sort of sits on his hands a bit and goes, because he hasn't grieved, he hasn't processed. He still feels the lack, even at this point in the story, what 25 years later, 30 years later, he still feels the loss of Night Eyes. He's just lost Molly, the love of his life. And now his daughter, that's a lot. And to some extent, he's in shock because he's also seen the return of Fool, but Fool is so damaged and so fragile and so frail. And Shade is dwindling. And so all of the things that held him together so long are gone. And we saw it a little bit very early in Assassin's Quest when we see him go, oh, I thought I was the shiz. But actually, without Shade, without Burrick, without people telling me and giving me the framework, I don't know how to do anything. And we come back to that a bit with this last one. And because he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be. I don't know where to direct my thinking. And yet in turn, that drives the plot, because while he doesn't know what he's doing, none of the prophecies or fortune tellers, seers, soothsayers, seers that clerics have got can see anything that he decides to do. So they're left unable to cope with whatever he does do because he hasn't made any decisions. You then add in the fact that B, as you say, she needs this time to come into her own strength. And between her own prophecies that we've begun to see at this point, and the fact that Fitz is the catalyst of the false prophecies, nobody said the catalyst was going to be competent. And Fool says that at some point. I think it might even have been Kettle way back when. Nobody said they were going to be smart. Nobody said they were going to be strong. Nobody said anything of the sort. But their actions, their behaviours are going to be what triggers events. So Fitz, being an idiot, has saved the world more times than we care to think about. We need him to fly off the handle. We need him to act irrationally, because otherwise what he does is predictable, and all of the prophecies can then be read and they can cut him off at the pass every time. We need him to lose his mind a little to bring that chaos, to bring that element of random into the pattern. And Fool knows that.
Yeah, because in chaos, it's harder to control.
And you can't foresee the outcomes of things like that. And you know, let's face it, Fitz's craziest moments where you're just like, oh my God, Fitz, what are you doing? Those are the ones ultimately that have led to big changes in the world. So there is, I get the critique of being frustrated reading Fool's Assassin and Assassins and Fool's Quest, because they do feel at times like you're spinning your wheels. But this time it's the emotional investment for me that made it real, because I know what that is, when you just have no clue what to do next.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to, all right, let's do this live, I guess. Let's I'm going to rate, like, put them in order of like favorite to like least favorite to most favorite. All right, let's do this live. Okay, so Fool's Quest. Sorry, cat. Something just dropped. I don't know what it was, but whatever. So Fool's Quest.
Okay.
That's at the very bottom. Okay.
Oh, the very bottom. Okay.
Fool's Quest, very bottom. Hopefully you can see that. Whatever. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
So, okay. What's next? So, probably hot take. Fool's Errand.
Okay, yes, that's a very hot take, because that's my absolute favorite.
Sorry.
Okay, I may need you to explain that one when you get there.
So here's the thing. Night Eyes' death was devastating, but I like caveat here. Obviously, the least favorite, the worst Hobb book is
it's all relative.
The least. I think I gave. Actually, hold on. No, I take that back. So here's the thing. I think I gave Dragon Haven 4 stars.
Okay.
But rating doesn't necessarily mean like equate to level. Does that make sense?
No.
So
it does make sense.
Okay. Okay, cool. So with that said, Dragon Haven. Next. Actually, you know what? So Fool's Quest, Dragon Haven, Fool's Errand. Okay.
Okay. It makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. Dragon Haven is the best filler book on the planet. I swear to God. It's
God, yes.
Yeah. So, and then we'll do Dragon Keeper.
Okay.
Let's see. Royal Assassin. Mad ship. Yeah, mad ship.
Okay.
Blood of Dragons and City of Dragons is kind of interchangeable. So they're kind of the same. And then, I mean, Cloven Hooves is its own thing. Let's see. And then what else? So I would say oh shit. Fuck. All right. We'll do Fool's Fate.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Oh shit, no. Hold on. Yeah, okay. Ship of Magic. Fool's Fate. No. Take that back. Because I don't really I love the character. I don't remember anything that goes on in Golden Fool. So that's why I'm just putting it below that. And then Fool's Fate. So Ship of Magic, Fool's Fate. I still have two others. Fuck. Assassin's Quest. Ship of Destiny. Oh god. Okay, hold on. Assassin's Apprentice. All right. There you go. Fool's Assassin. Assassin's Fate.
That's impressive. That is very impressive. I haven't even tried to rank beyond my favorite. And even then, it's my favorite only because of the emotional turmoil.
Honestly, it's probably going to change. It's probably going to change depending on what but yeah, so I guess that's, I mean, genuinely, I now understand why reading this book and finishing the series makes all these subsequent books they were already fantastic on their own and in their own right, but this just elevates it even more. It's just the emotions. The
fact that each book you read rewards you by making everything that came before that little bit better means that by the time you've read 16 books, that first one is so elevated by everything you've learned since.
I mean, although let's be honest, what you can remember
unreal.
Of other books, because some of them I'm like, I don't know what happened. Other than the big stuff, I'm just like,
it will come, my child. It will come. As you reread.
For anyone that watches this in the future, I am the self-proclaimed mini Derri, and I am going to aspire to that title, self-appointed title, and work towards it for the rest of my life. So,
absolutely. And I kind of can't wait for these discussions as you go through your rereads, because the value you get now that you have full context of what Claire has been up to the whole time. Now you've got full context about what the Pale Woman was trying to do way back in the Red Ships War. All of that makes everything you read from the beginning so different on your reread. It's crazy.
So in my initial so far only attempt to start rereading Assassin's Apprentice, I actually for once wrote in my book more than just little marks. So I got 2-3 pages into it.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So just the first section, and I'm it's talking about naming the names and what was it? Folk beliefs claim that such names were sealed to the newborn babies by magic, and that these royal offspring were incapable of betraying the virtues whose names they bore, passed through fire and plunged through salt water, and offered to the winds of the air. Thus were names sealed to these chosen children. So we are told, a pretty fancy, and perhaps once there was such a ritual, but history shows us this was not always sufficient to bind a child to the virtue that named it. And I just put in here because I wanted to remind myself, just Fitz chivalry. He's bonded to his name. That's, I mean, this could be an entire discussion on its own, but
it could.
Having context of the entire series, Fitz is truly his name. He is a bastard sense of chivalry. What is a bastard sense of honor and justice, vengeance?
Yep. And it's also the harsh sense of chivalry, which is what am I trying to say? It's the nasty side of chivalry. It's the bit that's hidden behind the my ladies and my sirs. It's the assassinations, and it's the dirty work that goes on behind the scenes. So it's just thematically, exactly. The thematically, his name itself tells you so much, and the richness of it all the way through the books. When we talk about, regal, well, he's a bit of an arsehole. I mean, how regal is that? Regal is the trappings of power. Regal is substance notwithstanding. It's all about how it looks. It's the fancy, it's the dinners, the fabrics, the luxury of fame.
And he has everyone else doing
celebrity, and that is what it is. Yeah. He doesn't do any of it himself. He's all about substance. He's all on surface. Verity, true to the core. That's completely unvarnished truth. He'll tell the ugly truth, and he does, and it gets him nowhere because nobody likes the ugly truth. So people who know him love him, because when people tell you the truth, you appreciate it. When a stranger tells you the truth, you can be like, nothing to do with you.
Yep.
And so that's how Verity clearly came across to a lot of people. He would be sent out to do diplomacy and do a terrible job at it because he offended people rather than made them work with him, because he didn't try and polish up the truth. He just said it how it was.
Yep.
Chivalry. He abdicated for his lady. She wasn't going to cope with everything that already was happening in her life, and now a child, when she couldn't have one, she no way was she going to cope with that. So we'll take my lady away from that because she's the center of my world. It doesn't get any more chivalrous than that.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't. And all of these names.
Dutiful.
I will. Everything he did for duty, and he accepted that, I think, to some degree. And once he accepted that, he wasn't fighting fate, and so it all kind of fell in place for him. Yep. The exception, of course, are the Farseers in The Wilford Princess and The Piebald Prince. Those are some of the dumbest names.
I haven't read it. So at least I have that.
We may have to come back to that one.
So yeah. So I guess I can't really say I've read the entire realm of the Elderlings, but
true. And you haven't read the short stories either, the Homecoming, and there's a couple of other ones that really aren't related, but Homecoming is good. Homecoming is the last one, The Inheritance. Yeah, because that's the birth of the Rain Wilds as an area, like Treehawk, and yeah.
Interesting.
It doesn't connect to anybody. It doesn't connect to a particular thread in any of the realm of the Elderlings, but it just shows you how that settlement began, which
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed reading. And of course, The Willful Princess, which is much closer to being part of Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah.
But there's the word uses and choices are profound, and I appreciated in Fitz in the Fall that Shade's children also were a spin on light. We had shine
Right.
and lantern, neither of them being hidden. These are both out. These are both shining lights. They're not dim, as its own name, shade, behind the scenes, hidden. He wanted his children to be in the light.
Even Spark / Ash. Like,
Yeah.
She is wonderful. So.
I did like Spark. She was fabulous. But I loved Purr as well. I mean, utterly unrelated to anybody in the Farseer line. Purr was just such a darling. And he was almost, I think, what a traditional storyteller would have made Fitz to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
This sort of plucky, stable lad. And I like that he's a side character.
Yeah. Well, he's
because
Rob and Hobb kind of sets him up as a not a foil, but like what Fitz. He's a continuation of Fitz as the he well, not even just Fitz. He is a conglomerate I don't know, combination at the end of Fitz, Burrick, Verity. He is chivalry. Because he's supposed to take care of B. He's supposed to take care of him until the day he dies.
Yeah, and he swore that off his own back. Nobody made him do that. Nobody did he do that. That was a choice he made very early on and lived with, in what we saw of him. And such just a devoted young man. I was like, I love him so much. He's going to be really annoying when B gets to adolescence.
Yeah.
But that's going to be fabulous.
But speaking of B, I did not know, like, the moment that I met B, I fell in love with her when she was born. Which, by the way, to go back a little bit, I was frustrated with excuse me. I was frustrated with Fool's Fate, the end of it, the very end, because I felt it was so rushed. Like, I understood years passed, and I was like, yeah, I get it, Fitz and Molly together, but I felt it needed to be expanded a lot to really, for me to feel that in them together and her, even though it was years, like, it just felt like
I wanted there to be more grief for Warwick, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no, I need this family to be grieving for long.
Right. And again, similar to Fool's Quest, like, I get it. It's Fitz telling his story, so he's gonna gloss over that and Robin Hobb is going to gloss over a little bit to wrap things up. So when I started Fool's Assassin, those first 200-300 pages where I'm seeing Fitz and Molly and their relationship, that's what I wanted at the end of Fool's Fate. And that's I've always loved Molly. I do not understand the hate that Molly gets, so I've never hated Molly. But I felt that, like, I felt the justification of that ending, of their relationship.
Those choices.
Yeah. And so, and where we so intimately follow Molly, and if it had just been Fitz's perspective, I don't think I would have been as emotionally impacted by her story.
No.
I was worried for her, thinking that, like, oh God, are we gonna have like a dementia arc going? It was genuinely concerning. So, and unfortunately, that's like one of my, I don't want to say anti-buzzwords, but like that's one of my triggers, like, because that's genuinely,
it's not a pleasant thing. Yeah.
It's one of my genuine in real life fears of just losing my memory and not being able to recognize anyone and just losing my capacity to think with my own brain and make conscious and conscientious decisions. So when I see Molly and I read Molly potentially going through that, I'm like, oh shit. Oh fuck. And then she has B. That's truly.
It was such a beautiful moment.
It was like a weight that was lifted. And I'm like, oh, Molly should have been believed from the very beginning. She knew. And
but she asked Fitz in quite a wonderful way when she said to him, look, I recognize that this seems mental. Outside this room, I'll pretend I'm not pregnant. Inside this room, I fucking am, and you're going to support me in it.
Yeah, that's
beautiful, because that's what gives you the strength of their relationship, that they're able to have that conversation. That's a really hard conversation to have, and love each other to have that conversation.
Yeah.
To go, I do want to be here for you, but this doesn't seem okay. Like, I want to support you, but this is a lot to support you in. And they come to that. And I think I must have clearly been going through my own stuff when I read it the first time, because it never, ever once occurred to me that she wasn't pregnant. Even after, 2 years have gone by, I'm thinking, she's pregnant. There is something happening, something magic. And it didn't take me too long to click. As soon as she was born, I was like, that's it. But I never doubted Molly. And not because I particularly loved Molly. I'm one of the people who always really struggle to like Molly until we get to Fitz in the Fall. But she's also never been somebody who couldn't look at the truth. Molly, as a character, was always prepared to see what was in front of her and stop bemoaning it. And she never sort of went, no, I don't want to think about it. No, I don't want to. No. Whatever was in front of her, she saw it for what it was and dealt with it. So it never occurred to me, not a single time, that she wasn't sure. She'd had, 6 children at this point. She knows what it feels like to have a life inside her. So when she says to Fitz, I know it seems crazy, but I know what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I had absolutely no reason to doubt her. Yeah. So when Fitz, because I was really angry with Fitz for not believing her, it's like, this is your house. Get behind your wife. When he does say to her, okay, in this space, this baby is real. And in this space, I support you wholly. And that it became his safe space in so doing, in trusting his wife, in loving his wife. That became somewhere he wanted to be over his study, which is the first time ever in his life his safe place wasn't hidden away somewhere from other people. Mm-hmm. His safe place was with Molly. And at that point, I was like, okay, I love Molly now so much. So I genuinely felt it when we lost Molly. And to have had Bee's perspective on that was incredible. She was incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And I am always so proud of this fandom because no one ever gets spoiled about Bee.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. Everybody goes into that final trilogy knowing nothing about Bee. So it is a true delight when you not only meet her when she's born as this perfect child, but you get to watch her come into
Becomes so
herself
powerful.
and choose her path. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because immediately you can see the full in her. So yeah, it's
I
just spectacular.
For me, and I know this is on the internet. I know this is live on the internet. Whatever, I don't care. My immediate connection with B was amplified even more by just the feeling. She's a really good foil for Fitz, where she feels so isolated, but it's not a self-inflicted isolation. She wants to connect with people. She wants to connect with everyone else, but she's so physically different from everybody. And when the kids start beating her,
It's
I fucking lost it.
Because you see her choose to go through that, and you see her reasons why, but it's heartbreaking because this is a child, a small child choosing the pain just to release her voice.
Yeah.
And knowing that even with a voice, but she still isn't going to stop being beaten. Yeah. That she will continue to be bullied. She knows that.
Yeah.
And that she chooses it, I think, wins everybody, because the courage of that, just the sheer courage that takes for anyone who's been bullied to willingly go into that with full knowledge is
it's a whole nother like
it's
not even sleep at that point.
New kind of trauma.
Something else.
She's incredible.
Yeah. And on top of that, as someone with admitted daddy issues, Bees and relationship, just seeing how that develops, and then seeing Fitz, and there was a passage. I think it's when Fitz was, I don't know if it was in Assassin's. I think it was in Assassin's Fate, when Fitz was he just was freely skilling with no walls, nothing, like he's just going crazy. And Nettle realizes that again, that kind of self-imposed isolation, he was doing it not as a means to protect him, but to protect her, because he didn't want her to think, that he was trying to make her forget about Burrick and her, Burrick as her father and those connections and his love for her and for everyone else. That it's for everyone. Fitz is, because of his love for those that he loves, as a means to protect them, he's distancing himself to protect them, not to protect himself.
Yeah.
And
for Nettle to finally realize that. And
it's just, I fucking lost it at that. And then at the very end,
again, it's the catharsis. It's like, finally he's being understood. Finally see what they mean to him.
Yeah. And then at the end, when we, everyone's saying goodbye, and she yells at the fool, he wants you. He doesn't want me, he wants you. she does it as a way to get him to give himself to Fitz, but
yeah,
it says that she lies, but and I mentioned this in my Voxer message to you, like all lies have an element of truth to it, and I have no doubt that she felt like Fitz was constantly choosing the fool over her. I mean, she even says it like that. You know, he ran off with the fool to go to Buckkeep.
He left me because
and I've no doubt, even in that moment, that she did feel like he wants you, not me. And but then on the flip side,
and let's be fair, in that instance, he did want beloved, not B, because he wanted B to live. but he selfishly wanted beloved to come with.
Yeah, but he did. In that moment, also knowing that she lied, so she knows that given the choice, Fitz would have chosen her because he wanted to be.
Oh yeah.
With her. He didn't want to leave her, which he had promised to do, and yeah, it's just so much fucking shit going on. Yeah. Anyways, let's talk about Paragon.
Let's do that for a minute.
Yeah.
I wish I was an artist. I really do, because I can see the moment that Fitz meets Paragon. I can see it as clear as day in my head. I can see them on the dock. Fitz catching sight of Paragon, Paragon catching sight of Fitz. I can see the looks on their faces. I can see the anger on Fitz's face of, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. And the affront on Paragon of, I'm sorry, this is the person that you love? And the whole look on Amber's face of, I can explain. Just the sheer awkwardness of that, while at the same time you've got Spark and Purr going,
What?
So that's a thing.
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, that moment is hysterical.
It's comedy gold.
Yeah. But even just like thematically and like plot wise, like I thought Paragon had an amazing arc in Live Ship, and that Robin Hobb was able to not negate that arc at all, but expand upon it and give him a whole new arc is just fucking genius, honest to God. So
I love it. I really do. And it's something, I can't remember who it was. I'm not even sure. I don't even think it was either Andrew or Nico, but somebody I've spoken to in the past has gone, oh, it's all very convenient that nobody remembers where Clarice is. It's a massive town. And all I say to that is they've been skilling that community for generations. Nobody remembers going there. People remember trading in the area. They remember having success in the area, but they have no specific memories of that place or the people they met there. So, no, people aren't going to have specific memories of a place called Clarice. They might have a memory of a trading port somewhere south that was really bright, perhaps, or just very successful, or they got that really cool fortune teller to tell them their fortune, but not necessarily a connective memory to something called Clarice.
Oh, it's Clarice where all those white folks are. Those whites are. So
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so Paragon to remember where it was. Yeah, that's really convenient. Paragon is the only live ship who has always had dragon memories. Because he was made of two dragons, he was allowed his own personality because they were too busy fighting out dominance in themselves. He was always a split personality, never a repressed one. So his dragon memories aren't able to build by the folk at Claris. So when his dragons get on board with the whole, okay, we're going to take those bastards out. They're like, we have the information. We remember this is where we're going.
Yeah.
It's one of those bugbears. I'm like, no, there are reasons why that works. Am I making these reasons from little bits of things through the book? Yes, I am. But they're there, and I'm going to make it a theory that works.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do. But I liked the fact that we got a less broken Paragon in Fitz and the Fool, because in this time he's come to terms with, I am made of dragons. We are three entities sharing this space. None of us have to pretend the other two aren't here. And they've obviously come to terms with that between the three entities.
Mm-hmm.
And for them all to then also decide that we're helping this, and I actually don't care what the crew of the ship think.
Yeah.
And he became the scary thing that was possible back in live ships, where Brashen and Althea were like, he could decide to just kill us all.
Yeah.
He could just decide that. And he becomes that when he tells them, you're going to do this, or I'm going to just stop.
Yeah, it's
good luck trying to make me do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's the I can't remember who it was that said it in the book, but it's, you know, the Bingtown took all this, everything that happened to free the tattooed, but then they're going to keep the live ships enslaved, even though they know that they are dragons, that they are made of dragons. Especially,
and there is a real dichotomy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a dichotomy there, because as sentient beings, none of them wanted to just be tied up at dock and left there. They want to be doing, but how do you then allow a ship, a vessel, to have sentience and make decisions? I mean, how do you even do that? Each trader's family in those intervening years must have come to some kind of, I don't know, agreement, arrangement, understanding with their ship of, okay, well, we can't free you from being a ship. You're kind of stuck being a ship. Still have to go places. Let's do it together, you know.
I mean, at the end, Tarmin is debating, and in my head canon, I think he stays a ship, because I think there's a wonderful partnership that Tarmin and
there's
Lex
a wonderful partnership there. I do wonder, though, I mean, live ships last pretty much forever. Nothing gets rid of them. How many generations may it take before Tarmin goes, I don't have that connection anymore. Mm-hmm. Maybe I would like a voice. Maybe I would like my wings.
Yeah.
And he now has the option always to take that path. And I mean, we see it with Ophelia. She doesn't even have memories of being a dragon. So would she at any point decide to become a dragon? Could she become a dragon without memories?
Well,
that's
a
whole other question.
What is it? Kendry.
Yes.
The trader family actors. I can't remember the exact words, but they say something along the lines of, we need to let him go, like release him from this pain that he's had, because he's so like.
Yeah. He was so angry and he was so betrayed. Yeah. And clearly each of the live ship families have had to come to terms with this in the intervening years, and we never find out which of the families are even still trading with their live ships, or what kind of lives the live ships have had since all of this came to light. All we know is Paragon and Vivacia and their choices. And the ability in that choice, and the Kendry, and so very few do we actually get a closing of their story, which is why I really love it, because it just feels like a snapshot of a world. Nobody's story ends with all of the, side plots finished. Nobody.
All the ribbon
Everybody dies in the middle of a book.
All that. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody dies in the middle of a TV show. Nobody. I say that there's possibly one or two people there's enough people that the odds work that they don't die mid TV show, movie, book, whatever. They've completed all their things and haven't started a new one when they move on to the next stage. But most people don't. So I like a story that does that doesn't try and wrap up everybody's stories. And we didn't get that at all. We don't know what Shun and Lance are going to do.
Yeah, because this is Fitz's story
and the full.
Yeah, and this is Fitz's story, and this trilogy is B and Fitz's relationship, and him.
Yeah,
like what's that? There's like some sort of writing phrase of like the need versus the want. So.
Oh, okay.
And I take that as like the external motivator versus like the internal motivator. So Fitz's external motivator is getting B the fuck back. His internal motivator connecting with B, and vice versa. Like B, getting back to Fitz and getting back to her family. And
we did actually move away quite quickly from something you said earlier about the father-daughter relationship with B. And there was a moment that there were several. Relationship in general, I think, is beautiful. But there was a moment when she's been browbeaten, basically, by Lant, who's just got the idea completely about her abilities and her personality. And Fitz takes her aside and he says, you needed to tell me, because I will always back you up. I'm always on your side. I was like, that's what every kid wants from their parent.
Yeah.
And he just gave it to her as the very first thing he could think of. It's like, no, if that's what you need from me, you've got it.
And it's interesting how that's just the immediacy and the instinct of that reaction, where the old Fitz, or the Fitz that you think of, would not necessarily overanalyze, but he would kind of not necessarily even overthink, but he would. Everything else said, because that siren was getting pretty loud. But yeah, no, he would like, what would be the right thing to say? And I'm the type of person that like I overthink everything. So what is the right thing to say, rather than what do I actually just want to say? And Fitz in that moment.
Yeah.
He knew, like, he wanted to say, I have your back. I believe you no matter what. And he didn't have to even think about it.
I will always believe you. Yeah.
He had no time to think.
I loved that. So. Yeah, I just loved that for him. And they have these rather almost magical misunderstandings where when they're doing the messenger, after she tells him that the parasites are in her and they need to burn the bed, and Fitz is burning the body, and he realized that he's made his daughter an accomplice to this burning of a body, and he's horrified. He's like, oh my God, how awful a father am I that I've involved my daughter in this. B is like, he trusts me. He thinks I'm capable. He has a good and higher me because he was happy to let me in on this. And so both of them have just got such opposing views of this event and the choice that he made to have her involved in it. And I just found that really fascinating, that they each took such a different view. But
I mean,
I love
out of context, and if that had happened, like obviously in real life, but if that had happened out like in a like less invested character relationship, we probably most if not all people would be like, Child Protective Services, sir, you're getting a 9.
Yes, this is not okay.
So
yeah,
no. So I mean, because they're both valid, like
oh, totally.
How valid is a reaction of like, oh yeah, he's helping me. He thinks I'm good enough to help bury a body. But like they're both like, again, going back to the truth thing, like not only there are elements of truth to every lie, but there are two truths that can be
always like they can both be true.
Like, yeah.
So, and I think that this is where we begin to see, or perhaps begin to accept, that Fitz has always been very wolfish. In that moment, what needed to be done, and the most useful person to help him do that was Cub. So this is what we're doing. And only after has more human reaction kicked in and gone, oh my God, I got my daughter to help me do that. But the wolfish reaction was, we keep this in the pack and the pack deals with it.
Well, it goes into that immediacy and that instinctual thing of like, and Fitz even before B, of not worrying about yesterday or the future, living in the now, in the immediacy of the now, which is kind of a little bit of a segue, quick shift, pivot to Wolf Father when they're separated. Night Eyes / Wolf Father goes to protect Cub, aka B.
Yeah.
And it's just he does for B what he did for Fitz in making her so confident in herself and powerful.
Put her in a moment, and said, no, to attack her. You cannot be her prey.
Yeah.
And there are moments where you see Wolf Father in her and you just think, oh yes, that's so powerful.
On the flip side, also disgusting, like when she's literally ripping people.
Yeah. And yet these are the things that
Wolf Father would do.
That they're effective. Yeah. But they're effective. They're like, no, this is outside the realm of normal and freaks people out.
Yeah.
And makes it effective.
And Wolf Father recognizes that this is for survival. Like, otherwise...
Yeah, and you do what you have to do.
Yeah, this is not normal. You normally wouldn't do this, but this is survival. Yeah. You have to do this.
Yeah, because if you're in a trap, then yes, you do chew off your own paw and get out of it. Because you can live without the paw. But if you're in the trap, you're going to die. Yeah. And those hard choices, he gives B the strength to make. And I loved that element of Fitz and the Fool, where we got to see that Night Eyes never really went away in a tangible way. I mean, he was clearly present toward the end of Tawny Man. He was clearly part of Fitz's world. But until we get Wolf Father with B, telling her back when she's in the tunnels in Withywood to just calm down, use your nose. What can you smell? Calm down. There's no need to panic. It's just dark. Those tiny little moments of advice from Wolf Father, you're like, oh my God, it's Night Eyes. Night Eyes is totally talking to me, which is marvelous. And all of those magical touches that we got with with Wolf Father, with Cub, where he gives her the dreams, where she's got wolf slippers on, and he's basically going, you are my cub. I'm going to make you a wolf cub. and look how effective you are.
Mm-hmm.
You have abilities, you have strength, you have innate power just by being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a beauty to that just can't come from anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Night Eyes is only ever going to be the one to be able to give her that.
Yeah.
Yay, Night Eyes. Totally the brains of the operation. I say it all the time because he totally is.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Love him.
To switch to another animal, Motley.
How cool is Motley?
Motley is so freaking cool. Like I'm like, Motley's gonna be that ill omen that Fitz kind of talked about. I'm like, oh shit. Am I gonna regret falling in love with Motley so quickly? No, I didn't. So although I genuinely thought that Motley was gonna be like a dragon or something, like, because Fitz couldn't connect with her, and she actually had the ability to speak.
Well, he didn't want to connect with. He didn't want to connect with Motley, and Motley wasn't interested in connecting with Fitz.
Right, but
Motley,
in those moments, I was thinking like just
there's more to Motley. I reckon there's more to Motley.
Yeah.
I do think there's more to Motley. I have theories on Motley, but that will be borne out hopefully with future writings from our very fabulous Lord and Saviour Robin Hobb. That Motley was smart enough to dip her beak into the silver and gain a better ability in speech. It's like, that's a smart bird. I mean, okay, crows are smart. I mean, they're among the most intelligent birds in the world, just as a species. So they get a lot of grace there. But this is a smart bird.
One, that she was able to speak at all. Like, crows are not parrots. They don't have the ability to mimic.
They have been known to mimic. I know the ravens and
not human voices though.
It's rare, but they do have it.
Maybe. But then, I don't know. Now that you say it, I realize that Motley didn't start actually talking until after the skill on her beak.
Yeah.
Now that you say it. So
and it's such and I was like, this is a smart bird. Like, there's some cognitive happening here that I would put beyond most mere animals.
So yeah, because the
fact that she formed a relationship with a dragon helps.
Yes. So my
are we elderling bird in Motley? I don't know.
Yes, because when her white feathers, she starts becoming blue and red, and I'm like,
yeah.
So I need to know your theories. What are your theories?
I can't actually share them until you've finished reading all of the Willful Princess, because there's information in there that is part of my theory.
God damn it. All right. Well, I guess I'll do that.
Better do that. But Motley is fascinating and fabulous and wonderful because that bird knows stuff that she shouldn't know.
So just because this is the way my brain works, Pearl Cop.
Okay. No, I kind of see that. I can see how you but because you found him sus for a while.
I'm still sus of him. Even at the very end, I'm like, I don't trust him. Because he is conveniently he says that he was on what is it, Ascavel, whatever, how do you pronounce it, island before Icefire put himself into the ice. Little sus.
I'm going to refresh my screen because the weather has gone a bit bonkers and my connection just went haywire. One moment, please.
Sure. Marco Polo. So my theories about Pearl Cop, I thought he was interesting in Tawnyman. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
Heyo.
Yay! Sorry about that. Just
no worries.
everything. Yes.
No worries.
So
So
Pearl Cop, very dodgy.
Yes. So I mean, I always thought he was a little sus in Tawnyman. And then just knowing that he was there before Icefire went into the ice in that Ascavale Island, and then he comes back, and I don't know, just everything he talked about, like, oh, this is supposed to be for, the path or whatever, and they lost their way, and I Fitz, just by killing the four, I just know that Pearl Cop was like, this was my point, this was my purpose. I'm gonna fill the void, and I'm gonna be that evil, like, I'm gonna be the new big bad in the realm of the Elderlings. Like, that's my headcanon, and that's what I think. Because I refuse to believe that he conveniently was on the island that Icefire kind of went into to go freeze himself and die. I refuse to believe that. And how he conveniently was like, oh, I tried to stop them and prevent them from killing Icefire, the pale woman. It's just...
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with Pearl Cop. I accept his explanation that he was a prophet who lost their catalyst and had made substantial changes, thus the color of his body. But his only remaining vision was so distant, was so far in the future, was so ephemeral, that he was frightened to do anything except stay where he'd ended up, which is on the island, waiting for that glimmer, which was for full Fitz, the group of witted, to come and wake Icefire. I'm kind of okay with that as a theory, because I can see Full wanting to have done that if he had lost Fitz and had seen no other way to move the world for something to have except some distant possible maybe. I can totally see Full just implanting himself somewhere and waiting for that thing that might happen to happen. The fact that it took so long, I can also, we've heard from Full that they're long lived. We've heard from Full that they can extend their lives just because they're different. I don't know. But I believe that. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give you that. So yes, Polaris probably was a completely different operation back in the day. What bothers me is that Pearl Cop seems to think that they can undo it, that they could have just gone back and talked them round. I mean, hello?
No.
Did you not see what the pale woman was doing?
Yeah.
That's a bit beyond, we're going to talk to you and please stop. That's
there's no negotiating
necessarily called, but I would say that he's perhaps a little naive.
Yeah, idealistic. Maybe that's the way to put it. So,
but again,
yeah,
an idiot of a different kind. You need them in stories.
An idealistic idiot. So he, to kind of tie it together, and maybe this would be the last thing, just because I'm a grandma and I like to go to bed early. Oopsie daisy. So much for me thinking I was going to be up late tonight. But so, sorry. So when he meets B, I thought that was actually some of the sweet, very sweet scenes of him and B in the cells beside each other. And he tells B, and I almost,
Yes.
I wrote it down here. I marked it here of, she asks him, like, what did you see in your, like, in your prophecy, that she gave him her foot. That was sweet. That was very sweet. But with that said, he does mention, well, she mentions that he mentions that he thinks that B's catalyst was Dawalia, which we haven't even touched on Dawalia and all that trauma, but whatever. Bad things happen. There you go. But he mentions that B's catalyst is Dawalia. I have this theory, and totally unfounded, this is totally anecdotal, but I think in my head, B is the combination of White Prophet, Catalyst, and because she has Fitz, the Fool, and Wolf Father, she's all of that combined. I don't think she has. I think she is White Prophet and Catalyst.
I agree.
At the same. Okay, good.
I agree. I absolutely agree, and I think that somehow innately she can kind of choose her catalyst and enable cataclysmic choices from other people just by being around them. I think she is her own vortex of possibilities, as it were, because she was this hidden sun. She is this hidden prophecy that under everything else. Her existence creates so much possibility, no seeing beyond her. And the potential inherent in that, if you buy into everything else around the prophecies and the paths and all of the things that we've seen around the catalysts and the prophets, the potentiality of her is vast, because she is a catalyst and she is a prophet, and she is, as you say, with Full Father, she's also the destroyer. And when you could have all three of those things in a single person, you don't lock them in a cell and drop them. That's stupid, because things are not going to go well for you.
Well, I don't know. Maybe this is a good,
precious, gorgeous little bee. She's
maybe this is a good thing to end on. Is at the very end, Nettle says, what is it? I put it here. I marked it here, I swear. But Nettle says something to crap. Nettle says something to B at the very end about, this is why I want you to put up the walls. Oh my god, we haven't even talked about Thick and B. Oh my god, I'll just put it in a one sentence thing. I was
just going to say, we haven't talked about that.
What like
much
summary. Thick is amazing, and B and Thick are amazing.
And we love him.
That her taught her the music, and like,
I know.
he is the skill master more than Nettle is the skill mistress. But so with that, so Thick teaches her the walls.
I will be here for you.
I'm sorry?
I will be her grandfather for you.
Yeah. Freaking Thick. Swear to God. Yeah, so there's Thick giving her the walls to shut everybody out so that she can contain the music. And then Nettle's like, this is why I need you to basically keep it hidden. I need, this is why you can be so open and, because she wants to protect her. And it's just, and Nettle's like, or not Nettle, B is like, I get it. This is why. Okay. And it's just, it's nice that everybody's on the same page. Yeah. And that Perseverance is just it's like they're literally riding off to the mountains, aka into the sunset. But it's not a closed ending for everyone. There's always possibility, but everyone knows not necessarily their role, but there's just this. It's the antithesis
and respect. This is the boundaries that we have.
It's the antithesis of what Fitz was doing. There is just open communication and honesty, or at least the implication of open communication and honesty of this is what we're trying to do, this is what we need to do it to achieve it. Whereas Fitz, by again keeping himself so closed off from everybody else in order to try and protect them, it's making things a bit worse. So I guess this is a good allegory / learn from Fitz's mistakes of just the willingness to be open with people and have empathy and just open communication. And I know that's easier said than done, no pun intended, because communication said whatever. Anyways, yeah, and there's just so much to this series that I'm so thankful for. And thank you, Derri, for dealing with my tears and my
That's quite all right.
So
I would. Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. On that note, any final thoughts? Sorry, didn't mean to make us end on you crying note. So
no, it's happy tears. I love Thick. I love him much. And
we didn't even talk about Shade. We can do a part 2.
Should not come with anything. We don't. There's always so much more we can talk about. I like that if Robin Hobb comes out tomorrow and says, right, here's another trilogy, oh God, flogging a dead horse. I'll be like, yes, I need to know. I need to know what happens with Nettle's daughter, who is now going to be the Narcheska for the Out Islands. I need to know what's going to happen with
Hope
B,
and
obviously,
Promise?
because B. Just these things I want to know. I want to know about the dragons. I want to know if the ship dragons are any different from the Rainwild dragons, Icefire. How different are they going to be after they have access to the silver? I don't know, and I want to know. So
I wanted to see the result. Yeah, I wanted to see the results of the other island, to see them fuck up those abominations. So
because there will be more of them.
Yeah, I might write some fan fiction about that. So I don't know. But okay. Anyways, on that note,
I shall look forward to it.
Okay. So we're gonna do like a reread podcast, and it's just gonna be me and you talking about as we work our way through rereads. So,
Sure.
but in all seriousness, all joking aside, thank you so
Sounds
much
good.
for joining me for this and letting me talk your ear off. And there are gonna be many more conversations
That's welcome.
because I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface, and there's always more to talk about. So,
Yeah.
and obviously Derri's information's, I don't think I linked it down below
Yeah, it's
before,
always a
but
joy.
it'll be there. Derri's read it before. There you go. And I'll have it linked down below right after I post this. So
yeah,
thank you again. Anyone that's read Realm of the Elderlings, just
alrighty.
if you've made it this far and you haven't read Realm of the Elderlings, what are you doing? What
the hell were you doing?
So no, whoopsie daisy, not my fault. So anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and end the broadcast.
Self-inflicted. In